The Punjab Congress is in complete disarray after the surprise announcement by Navjot Singh Sidhu, clearly a sulking Sidhu, resigning as the Punjab Congress Chief. He was reportedly miffed over a number of issues, wanted his key aides in all top government posts. That didn't happen and that's why he resigned. But the Congress High Command is already in action now. The party's Congress in charge, Harish Rawat, and senior party leader Harish Chaudhary are reaching Chandigarh to resolve this crisis. Sources say that efforts are on now to pacify Sidhu and to make him withdraw his resignation. This comes as hectic parleys continue in Sidhu's camp. In a bid to weigh his support, Navjot Singh Sidhu met several of his aides at his Patiala residence. Sidhu met Punjab working presidents Kuljeet Nagra and Sukhwinder Singh Danny, as well as Congress MP Amarinder Singh. Congress MLAs Jagdev Singh Kamalu, Pirmal Singh Khalsa, Bawa Henry and Sukhpal Khera also met Sidhu late in the night. In solidarity with Sidhu, Cabinet Minister Razia Sultana, Punjab Congress's General Secretary Yoginder Dhingra and Treasurer of Punjab Congress Gulzar Inder Chahal quit from their respective posts. Amid this resignation spree, Punjab Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi will be chairing a cabinet meet at 10:30 this morning.
Navjot Singh Sidhu, the opener picked by the Congress to lead the party in the assembly elections, has walked off the pitch abruptly. Even before the toss could take place. In a letter addressed to Sonia Gandhi, Sidhu announced his resignation as the Punjab Congress president. Sidhu mentions he is not ready to compromise on the future and welfare agenda of Punjab. Sidhu's sudden resignation stumped the Congress.
अजय मैंने पता ही नहीं है लेट मी
वैसे ਤਾਂ ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਇੱਕ ਗੱਲ ਜਾ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਅਵੇਅਰ ਹੋ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ
ਅਜੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੋ ਨਾ ਅਜੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ
Sources say Sidhu was unhappy with the appointment of APS Deol as the Advocate General of Punjab. Deol was the lawyer for former DGP Sumedh Singh Saini and IG Paramraj Singh, both accused in the Behbal Kalan police firing that killed 2 people. Sources say Sidhu was also angry with the inclusion of Rana Gurjeet Singh in the ministry. Gurjeet Singh was dropped from the Amarinder Singh government over allegations of impropriety in the auction of sand mining contracts. According to sources, the former cricketer also did not like the allocation of home portfolio to Deputy CM Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa. Former Chief Minister Amarinder Singh reacted to Sidhu's resignation with a tweet that said, "I told you so."
जहाँ तक सिद्धू की बात है, वो तो पहले दिन से मैंने कहा he's an unstable man, and to have an unstable man calling the shots in जो हमारी एक security related होगी के साथ का पाकिस्तान का border है, it would be dangerous for the security of the nation. मैं पहले भी यही कहा था और आज भी मेरी यही कहना है.
The turmoil in the Congress has its rivals overjoyed.
इससे ये पता चलता है नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू दलित विरोधी हैं। एक गरीब मां के बच्चे को मुख्यमंत्री बनता हुआ सह नहीं पाए नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू। कुछ दिन तो चल पाए मगर उसके बाद जो है उनका दर्द जो है बाहर छलक गया।
ਜਿਹੜਾ ਨਵਜੋਤ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਹੈ ਆ ਮਿਸਗਾਈਡਡ ਮਜ਼ਾਈਲ ਹੈ ਇਹਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਡਿੱਗੂਗਾ ਤੇ ਕਿਹਨੂੰ ਮਾਰੂਗਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਤੇ ਡਿੱਗਿਆ ਕੈਪਟਨ ਨੂੰ ਤਬਾਹ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਜਿਹਨੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਧਾਨ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਸੀ ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਤੇ ਡਿੱਗ ਪਿਆ ਹੁਣ ਕਾਂਗਰਸ ਦਾ ਸਫਾਇਆ ਕਰਤਾ ਨੇ
Navjot Singh Sidhu, who was given the task of building an innings, has gone out slogging. Now the question is, will the man picked by the Gandhis for his potential match-winning abilities return to the pitch or retire hurt? Either way, the Congress has cut a sorry figure in Punjab. Bureau Report, India.
So what next for the Punjab Congress? How is the High Command going to resolve this one? Let's take this across to Manjeet Singh, who's tracking all the latest political updates from Chandigarh. Manjeet, good morning. Lots that's happened in the last 24 hours. What we understand at this point, as far as the High Command's next course of action is concerned, is that they're going to try to reach out to Sidhu. They're trying to convince him to withdraw his resignation.
Good morning, Akshita. On my right, you could see this is Navjot Singh Sidhu's Patiala residence, and two of the cabinet ministers who was very close to Navjot Singh Sidhu, one Pargat Singh and another is Amarinder Singh Rajabading, are inside. They are meeting Navjot Singh Sidhu. Efforts are on to pacify him to withdraw his resignation. And on the other, the party high command has also swung into action. The responsibility has been given to the Punjab leadership to pacify Sidhu on, and two senior functionaries, the ICC General Secretary Harish Rawat and Harish Chaudhary, are reaching Chandigarh today to resolve the issues. And Chief Minister Charanjit Singh Channi has also called an emergent cabinet meeting at 10:30. So efforts are on to pacify Navjot Singh Sidhu, who had raised some objections. Objection number one was allocation of the portfolios. He was not happy the way Home Department was given to Sukhjinder Singh Randhawa. And the objection number two was appointment of the DGP. Besides other decisions, some officials, and particularly the appointment of Advocate General of Punjab, AAP, Mr. Senior Advocate Deol was appointed, which was not acceptable to the Congress leaders, as in the past he has contested cases pertaining to former DGP Sumet Singh Saini, who is accused of ordering firing at Bahibal Kala. Okay. So these were the issues which were raised by Navjot Singh Sidhu. Now Congress leadership is hoping that he will withdraw his resignation.
And let's see if they give in to some of the demands also that he's put forth with regards to changes in the government as well. Manjeet, for the moment, thank you very much for joining us. So a lot of hectic political activity already playing out early this morning in Punjab. One of the questions that rises really at this point with things how they stand in Punjab Congress is what next for Captain Amarinder Singh. Is he going to consider staying in the Congress? Is the High Command going to reach out to him, try to pacify him? Sources telling us that Captain Amarinder Singh could be considering the BJP as an option, and he may just be meeting Amit Shah as well as JP Nadda. When we asked Captain Amarinder Singh about his Delhi visit, he maintained that it was a personal one.
Captain Amarinder Singh, who was humiliated and forced to quit the post of Punjab Chief Minister, is now on a mission. For the first time after he resigned on September 18th, Captain has arrived in Delhi. His sudden visit comes against the backdrop of his bête noire Navjot Singh Sidhu's resignation as the Punjab Congress Chief.
मैंने कहा था आदमी अनस्टेबल है और उसने आप ही दिखा दिया कि उसने आज रेजिग्नेशन कर दिया.
Amarinder's visit to the capital has set the tongues wagging in the corridors of power. India Today has learned that MLAs close to Amarinder have urged the former CM to seek floor test. This after some Punjab Congress leaders holding key positions resigned, taking Sidhu's cue. Amarinder is said to be keeping a close watch on the political developments in Punjab. His visit to Delhi has only fanned speculations. Not very long ago, Haryana Home Minister Anil Vij had openly invited Captain to join the BJP.
राष्ट्रवादी अमरिंदर सिंह जो कांग्रेस की इस गंदी साजिश में बाधा थे, उनका राजनीतिक तौर पर कत्ल कर दिया. कांग्रेस के ये जो गेम प्लान है, इसको फेल करने के लिए ना केवल अमरिंदर सिंह को, सभी ताकतों को इकट्ठा होकर इनको धाराशायी करना चाहिए.
Anil Vij's remarks came after a sulking captain had made his intentions clear. For the time being, Captain is keeping his cards close to his chest. Though he told India Today, he is keeping his options open.
I will take into account all my supporters, whether they are in the parliament or in the assembly or outside in politics, and then I will make up my mind. I never said which party I will be in.
The Congress is hoping all will be well.
ਕੈਪਟਨ ਅਮਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਾਡੇ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਰਹੇ ਹੈ ਚਲੋ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਹਟਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜੇ ਹੁਣ ਉਹ ਗਏ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਚੰਗੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਹੱਥ ਦੀ ਹਿੱਤ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਕਰਨਗੇ
With Navjot Singh Sidhu quitting as Punjab chief, the Congress now has to handle two fronts. It has to ensure both Sidhu and Amarinder fall in line fast.
The Punjab headache seems to be never-ending for the High Command. First, Captain Amarinder Singh, now Navjot Singh Sidhu. What does this really mean for the Punjab Congress? With months to go for the elections, let's decode that for you. First, it's left leaderless and rudderless. There's no prominent face left in the Punjab Congress to lead the party for the elections. It amplifies the void that's been left behind by former Chief Minister Amarinder Singh. He was a strong voice, someone who is recognized to the Punjab Congress. He went, Navjot Singh Sidhu came in, but he's left too, and that's why it's a big stain on the High Command's decision. The fact that they chose Sidhu over Amarinder hasn't really paid off. It's backfired on them. It raises questions on Rahul Gandhi, on Priyanka Gandhi, on their choices as well as their leadership, and it's hugely embarrassing for them. But the biggest concern for the High Command currently is that it's just about 5 months to go for the elections, and they're left without a leader and with so much confusion on exactly who's heading the Punjab Congress and where they stand currently. So how is the High Command going to be addressing this new crisis now in the Punjab Congress? Let's take this across to Mohit Sharma. He's joining us with more details from the national capital on the Congress's firefighting mode now. Mohit, good morning. The High Command has already rushed their emissaries to Chandigarh. They're going to be discussing what needs to be done. What exactly is the strategy now of the Gandhis to address this issue of Sidhu's resignation?
Well, good morning, first of all, Akshita. And clearly, the Congress party was in a state of shock yesterday. We could see and we could sense the overall, behavior of the Congress party when Navjot Singh Sidhu's resignation actually, came in, and that too through a tweet in which he not only disclosed that he was resigning, but more importantly, it sent a Congress party once again in a tizzy. It was supposed to be a big day for the Congress party with two new youth leaders joining the party, and that is something that the Congress would have hoped to end the day yesterday. But clearly, Navjot Singh Sidhu did not want all the glory or all the glory to go to those young leaders, and clearly, the day turned out to be for the Congress party in Punjab. What we are witnessing right now is a complete infighting, complete chaos that is currently prevailing in the state of Punjab. If you remember, it was being said that Navjot Singh Sidhu was brought in the Congress party at the behest of Priyanka Gandhi. He was said to be close to the Gandhian siblings, both of them, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi. And now with this sudden resignation of sorts, it has once again created a vacuum within the party when it comes to Punjab. And that is something that the Congress party is obviously trying to once again fulfill in. You rightly pointed out that the Congress party is left without a leader in the state of Punjab. And that is something that the Congress party wants to resolve as soon as possible. And hence, what we are right now witnessing is a series of leaders reaching out there in Punjab. And it is likely that the High Command here in the Congress party would also be speaking to Navjot Singh Sidhu, trying to figure out as to what really went wrong.
All right, Mohit, thank you very much for joining us with those details. Now, what's happened in the last 24 hours in Punjab is hugely embarrassing, yes, for the Congress, but particularly for the Gandhis, because they had essentially chosen Navjot Singh Sidhu over Captain Amarinder Singh when you saw their all-out infighting and factionalism. And that decision has backfired on the Gandhis. They're now in a fix because it was very, very clear that they played favourites with Navjot Singh Sidhu, who even got an audience with Rahul and Priyanka at a time when he was being publicly critical of Captain Amarinder Singh. So now, how will the Gandhis damage control? How will they ensure that the optics don't look so bad for them and for the High Command?
Even when Navjot Singh Sidhu launched the fiercest of attacks on Captain Amarinder Singh, he was sure of one thing: the support of the Gandhis, especially Rahul and Priyanka. As the crisis peaked after June this year, Sidhu was granted an audience with both MP Rahul Gandhi and Party General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. But the siblings did not give time to Amarinder, who waited for the call in vain, camped in the national capital. Of the two Gandhis, Priyanka played the role of crisis manager. It is widely believed it was Priyanka's stamp of approval that clinched Punjab Congress President post for Sidhu. The appointment as state party chief evidently did not quench Sidhu's thirst for more. He continued targeting Amarinder Singh, getting his MLAs to write to the party seeking a change in leadership. Sidhu went all guns out against his own party's government over issues like power cuts and drug menace.
ਭਾਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਟੈਰਿਫ ਆਰਡਰ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਕਰੋ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਅਧੀਨ ਫੇਅਰ ਔਰ ਜਸਟ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਬਿਜਲੀ ਖਰੀਦੀ ਜਾਵੇ ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਇਹ ਐਗਜ਼ੋਰਬਿਟੈਂਟ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪੀਪੀਏ ਸਾਈਨ ਕੀਤੇ ਉਹ ਨਲ ਐਂਡ ਵੋਇਡ करार दिते जान.
All the while, no one in the party's top brass came to Amarinder's help. They neither asked Sidhu to tone down his attacks, nor asked him to have a dialogue with Amarinder. The writing on the wall was clear. The MLAs rallied behind Sidhu. Amarinder was forced to quit the chief ministerial post.
मैं अपने आप को मैं समझता हूं कि मेरे ऊपर कोई एलिमेंट ऑफ डाउट है कि मैं चला नहीं सका या कोई बात हुई, पर आई फील ह्यूमिलिएटेड कि जिस तरीके से ये बात हुई है.
Once Amarinder stepped down, Sidhu pushed for the chief ministerial post. This time, he wasn't lucky enough. The Congress High Command picked Charanjit Singh Channi as the Chief Minister ahead of Sidhu. The former cricketer also couldn't have his say in ministry allocation. Sidhu has once again raised the stakes by submitting his resignation to Sonia Gandhi. Will the Gandhis indulge him further and thrash out a truce? Given their experience with Sidhu, this time the first family of Congress will be wary. Bureau Report, India Today.